The ability to ask questions is really massively valuable, especially as a coach. Hello, welcome to CoachGrid. My name is Joe Spearden, joined by Kirsten Davis. Today, we are talking about who can be a coach. And we were kind of joking around beforehand about the movie Ratatouille, because there's this part in Ratatouille where they're saying anyone can cook, everyone can cook. And I've joked for a long time that there's this barrier to entry for coaching, which is what you're willing to put into your Instagram profile handle. Mm-hmm. And if I say that I'm a ninja, shamanic, warrior, goddess coach, then I am.
Is that what you have in yours?
Used to be.
Yesterday.
The idea with this being, that's not necessarily true. That doesn't make you a coach, or at the very least, that doesn't make you a good one.
Right.
So what are the qualities, the components, the aspects of a good coach? Mm-hmm. And we've both worked with a lot of coaches. I think I've worked with more not great coaches than you.
I know. I'm kind of killing it in the coach department.
You've really, and maybe this is just my like.
I've hired one bad coach.
I think as we're having this conversation and having both worked with good coaches and both worked with some coaches that weren't so great, and also as CoachGrid, been able to meet with a lot of coaches, and some of them that are much more prepared to enter that industry now, and some that it's not to say that they can't, they just haven't developed some of the skill sets necessary to go do that in a really good way. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that comes to my mind is one of the things that I think really set me apart as a really good coach when I was doing that full time, which is your ability to ask questions. Mm-hmm. And that might seem like a really, really basic thing. Like, who can't ask a question?
Yeah.
But there's so much behind what that is. There can be a lot of different kinds of questions and a lot of intentions for asking questions. This goes back to something that you've said in a previous episode in kind of defining what a coach is. Mm-hmm. And it's a coach's ability to direct someone back to themselves. Mm-hmm. So if I'm asking a question because I don't know, that's probably not as great of a quality or caliber of question as, do you know? As my client, do you know this thing about yourself?
Being able to pick up on the subtleties of what somebody is or isn't saying. So some people are really good at telling this really beautiful story. And so you're like, okay, well, tell me about what's going on today. And they're like, it's great. I'm crushing it. I woke up and I did this and this and this. And I'm noticing, I'm like, okay, you're here on this call. You paid a lot of money to be on this call. Why are you telling me that you're crushing it? Like, what are we working on here today? And so I'm usually watching for the body language or listening for the thing that they're not saying, where I'm like, you live with a partner. Your partner hasn't come up once in this. And it's like, and think, okay, what's a question in my arsenal where whatever the thing is that I notice that I can tell me more about this part and kind of like hone in on the elephant in the room and allow them. And sometimes they don't even know that they're doing it. And so it really is helping them slowly, gently come to the realization, because you could say, okay, I heard you said a lot. You didn't say this, and instantly defenses, right? And that can actually be very people can take that really harshly, and it can be negatively, it can be like detrimental.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's like the question that you're asking, how you're asking it, why you're asking it, when you're asking it. Are you waiting after you ask? Or, there's so much that goes into it. And then how they receive the question. Do they answer the question?
Again, it can seem really, really simple. But honestly, in me coaching others and in teaching them how to coach or how to resolve conflict or how to navigate aspects of their own life, I've encouraged them, do not make a single statement. Ask questions only. So if they're in an argument with their boss and their boss comes in and says, and they're upset about the way that their boss is treating them.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, when your boss says you're a bad employee, say, all right, what does that mean to you? Your ability to do that really invites people into reflection of self. I think all of us have unconscious habits. We have things that we say and we have things that we do that we've not stopped to think about before.
Mm-hmm.
And so something really simple as an example would be, why do you take the route that you take when driving to work or to your parents' house or whatever thing? And people are like, why do I do that? And it might be really innocuous and really simple answer, or there might be something really impactful to it.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that comes up with me, you said the ability to wait.
Mm-hmm.
And this comes up so much with coaches when they're pitching. Hey, it's $3,000 to work with me for this 10 weeks. Are you ready to do that? And if the client isn't immediately like, yep, I'm ready to go. Where can I pay you? Well, but I also have this thing that's only $500. And because they're not willing to wait, or they haven't developed that skill set, they talk themselves out of more clients than they talk themselves into.
Yep. Yeah.
So the ability to ask questions, massively, massively valuable as a human being, but especially as a coach.
Yeah. It's the same thing. And from both sides, it can be a detriment, but it's either you haven't done anything in life and you want to teach people how to do it, or you've done something in life and you think that qualifies you to teach people how to do it, or like coach them through, their own process, and knowing that that's not the only piece that's needed to be a really, really good coach.
Absolutely. One of the coolest things that I've done is in real estate, I had this path as to how I was going to succeed. And I did that path and I succeeded on that path. And so my brain forms this thought, that is the only way to succeed at real estate. And it had nothing to do with what I had done.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, well, how did you do it? And it had nothing to do with what either of us had done.
Yeah.
And having this realization, like, man, there's like 400 ways to do really, really well in real estate.
Yeah.
And then say, okay, now I'm going to get really curious. What are the commonalities? What are the parts of the process that seem to be the same? What are the core components? And that's, for me, how you develop coaching programs.
Yeah, like a framework.
Yeah.
And a unique framework that you can work within using all the tools, like questions and different tools, to get a result in a consistent way, even though people are all different in the way they're going to execute within that framework.
Absolutely. I think that's really hurt a lot of coaches when somebody comes in and we have a preconceived idea of how they are going to succeed. Now, if we have a path or that framework that we can walk them through, and we can be really open to that looking different than it looked for us, then you see that success come, and the client's like, oh man, you led me to this. You led me through this process.
Yeah.
And it can be wildly uncomfortable for you as a coach. Like, oh man, I would never do that.
Yeah.
I would never do that way.
Right.
And I remember, again, going back to real estate, I'd walk into a house and I'd show someone the house and I'd be like, this place is awful. I hate this house. I hate the design. And I would go to them and I'd say, all right, well, you guys ready to go? Like, clearly. And they'd be like, we love this place. This is amazing. It's like, oh yeah, this isn't me buying a house. This is me helping these people accomplish their goal and their dream.
Yeah. 100%. I think a lot of the people in the industry that are showing up and are giving it all they've got and are not getting results are trying to follow somebody else's model, or somebody's telling them, you need to follow my exact steps that I did and have my preferences and skills, and then they don't. And then they're just, trying to do it. And it's like, well, man, if you do like what you're saying, if you just do your version of that, then all of a sudden you just watch people explode.
So let's talk a little bit about certifications. Years ago, I was talking to a guy, and we had been exchanging messages on Facebook for a while, and he'd been introduced to me through other people. And these other people are talking about what you'd been able to do for them, and that's exactly what I want. And we were there. I had sent over the invoice and all the information, and he was like, one more thing, where are you certified? to do coaching. I was like, well, actually, I'm not. Ghosted. Never heard another word from the guy. Not even no, that's not comfortable. Just no word. So clearly there's some people that are very, very dedicated to the idea that you need to be certified. And I'm asking you this question because you've gone through some certification processes that have been really valuable for you and really impactful in your coaching experience.
Yeah.
So what's your take on certifications?
Well, that's another thing I'm really good at, finding the good ones. Same with like hiring coaches. I've hired a lot of good coaches and I've gone through really solid certifications that have just transformed my entire life just for having the knowledge, like my life. And that's how you know it's good, when it changes your life just in learning it and naturally applying it to yourself. You say like to be a coach, all you have to do is put it in your Instagram bio. Same to be a certifier of coaches. There's the ICF board, but even that, it's more like certified. It's the International Coaching
Federation
something.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But even that, there's a lot of leeway in what flies. And just because somebody says, hey, I have a certification program, or just because somebody says that they're certified, doesn't really mean anything. You know, it's kind of like a college degree. You can have somebody that technically has a college degree. It shows they can show up for something.
Right.
You know, it shows some character there. But beyond that, you've got to ask a lot more questions, whether you're going into a certification or looking at their certification as, meaning anything.
For sure. My younger brother played college Division I college football and played a little bit in the NFL. And talking with him, the first time I ever heard the phrase, D's get degrees. And he he was joking at the time, but it was this idea of like, I just need to pass. And there's a lot of doctors out there. There's a lot of therapists out there. There's a lot of dentists out there. There's a lot of everything out there that weren't the top of the class, that got D's, but still got the degree, still got the certification.
Right.
And so to your point, does that immediately qualify you? No. Does not having one immediately disqualify you? No. For me, it goes back to intention. And that's why I think you've picked really good ones, the ways that you have, is because you went in with an intention of, this is what I want to be able to get from this certification. And if the only thing you're looking for from a certification is permission, it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can. I've seen advertisements again on social media, $7 in a weekend, get certified as a life coach.
I've done one of those too.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah. That's not the one that I lean on, but it was actually really funny. I ordered it, and when I logged into the portal, it was actually like, I don't know if it's from like the 80s or the 90s. You know those old CDs? They like mail you the CDs and it's like, dun, 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 and it's like this like 4-minute intro.
Right.
And it was just that digitized. And I was like, wow, this is going to be a trip. And it was actually good information, but it wasn't very helpful in my coaching career.
Right.
And a lot of it was outdated. And I learned in my later, actually, relevant, rigorous certifications that a lot of it was actually had been like, the opposite had been shown as more effective.
Right.
So,
yeah. Quite antiquated.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to rip on certifications because I think some of them can be extremely valuable. And I think that really is the qualifier. Am I looking for permission through the certification, or am I looking for a qualification? Am I looking to gain a skill set that's going to make me better at the thing that I do?
100%.
And so between some of those things already, if you are going in with the ability to ask good questions, if you've studied things in a way where you have a solid framework, and if any certification you have is to reinforce those first 2 points, you're leaps and bounds above and beyond most coaches that are out there right now. So last things, is there any other things for you? Anyone can cook. Everyone is a coach. Anyone can be a coach. Like what's the reason that you're a coach? The passion behind being a coach is the same thing in the movie, right? Why do I do this? Do I do this because it makes me a lot of money? Do I do this because it gets me some prestige? Because it gets me pats on the back? Because people tell me how great I am? Do I do this because I have a compelling vision for the future that I want to bring into reality? That is a huge differentiator between a good coach and just a coach.
Yeah.
So the more clear that is, the more emotionally impactful that is, the more I'm going to trust the way that you show up, even if you don't have the skill sets, even if you don't know how to ask good questions. I've had those coaches, and I can feel some emotion coming up even in talking about this, that they care about me, that they care about what I want to accomplish, that they care about what that's going to do for me and for my family and for my community and for the world. Really important as a coach.
Worldview, I think, is so important as a coach, and taking the time to realize that you were raised with biases, and you don't know the way that other people were raised, how they believe, how they see the world, and that your job as a coach is not to convert people to a religion. It's not to convert people in or out of a 9-to-5, in or out of a political affiliation, in and out of morality, in and out of ethics. Like, these are not things that as a coach, it's your job to pull somebody into your worldview. And so I think it's, and you will do that if you don't take the time to develop an awareness of the worldviews that are out there. And so that when somebody comes in, you don't just naturally shut them down energetically or in the words that you're saying, and there's nuance to it. And so I think the first step is educating yourself and realizing that that's a thing in the first place. And then what are the viewpoints out there that I don't know about and don't understand, so that you don't inadvertently cause harm or sway somebody into a direction that they're going to have to come back from and kind of start over again. So I think that's really important. I also think being trauma informed, especially if you do any type of emotional work, understanding, or especially somatic work, that's even bigger. Knowing what the signs are when somebody has trauma coming up, that's so important. Again, not to cause harm. This isn't just like, are you a good coach or this is like where people can get hurt, and why a lot of people like want to take the coaching industry down and say this needs to be behind, regulation, because when you're taking someone through a deep transformational process and they have trauma coming up, you can actually re-traumatize them if you don't understand what's happening. And you don't have to know you don't have to be trauma certified, but you need to be able to bring them back to present, resource them, and say, hey, just so you know, this is as far as I can take you in this realm. You can still coach them in other realms, but you probably need to go to a therapist who is able to take you through this. And then I think along with both of those, being able to build bridges, because in the change process that humans go through, there is a down to a science predictable point where you have all this momentum, you're really excited, and then there's this execution phase, and all of that, like sometimes you need tools to get through, and then there's this massive dip, and not just one. There's like proven points in any process where you're going to dip. And as a coach, the most powerful thing you can do is to be able to bridge that dip, and it's understanding when it is, why it is, how it is, and then how do you help bridge that or give them a little push right before they jump. So I think those are 3 really, really important things to being not just a good coach, but it's almost like a responsibility as a coach that like you should really get that under your belt.
Yeah, really well said. And I think the invitation from this for anybody that will be watching it is, where do I land? In almost every field, there's what they call CE, continuing education. And it's this idea that there's not an arriving point. There's not a point where now I'm a good coach. Now I'm a qualified coach. Now I'm worthy, to put that in my Instagram profile. It's a continual process of I'm continuing to get better for the sake of my clients, for the sake of that vision that I move forward with. And that's really okay. You can be in it. You can go succeed in it. For all of you that are watching this today, if some of this resonates with you, if all of this resonates with you, go to Instagram, follow us at CoachGrid, or you can go to CoachGrid.com, schedule an appointment. Let's talk more about it.